Chosen one, how many times have you tried to fit into spaces that did not speak to your soul? How many times have you smiled while deep inside, something in you screamed that you were in the wrong place, surrounded by the wrong people, living a reality that never felt your own? There is a reason for this, and it goes far beyond what you were taught. This video is not just a simple reflection. It is a spiritual call, a rupture with everything that once limited you. Because if you bear on your hands the mark of the letter M or the sign of the lunar crescent, know that you are not here by accident. And more than that, you are not 100% human. Your soul was sent with codes that this world does not recognize. Your very existence is a threat to the system that wants everyone asleep, obedient, and the same. But you were not born for that. You were born to awaken, to confront, and to illuminate. And that is why I now invite you to perform 3 simple but deeply spiritual acts. Comment below, "I know who I am," and release on the spiritual plane the recognition of your true identity. Click the subscribe button and join a community that, like you, is remembering who it is, what it carries, and why it was sent. And finally, leave a like. This action helps this message reach other chosen ones who, like you, need to awaken now. Now breathe deeply and find your inner silence, because what you are about to hear was not made for the weak or the conformists. It was made for those who already perceive that the truth they carry in their hands does not belong to this world. Since you were very young, something in you disturbed the environment. It wasn't what you said nor how you dressed, but your very presence. Where everyone else seemed to fit in naturally, you felt you were merely passing through. Where they found comfort, you experienced restlessness. Nothing seemed enough. No explanation offered by this world answered the questions burning in your chest. And so, little by little, you learned to silence yourself. But you never managed to extinguish your light. Even when you tried to live like the others, obey what they said, silence your intuition, and force a sense of belonging, there was always a profound silence within you whispering, "This isn't everything." And indeed, it wasn't. You were not shaped by the surface of life. What pulses in your spirit comes from another source. You carry codes that logic or biology cannot explain. Your body inhabits the earth, but your consciousness, arrived from afar, vibrates at such a high frequency that it disturbs those who sleep. For it awakens in them the memory of all they chose to forget. That is why they judged you strange, tried to silence you, and so many times you even doubted yourself. But the truth always returns, insists, comes back with greater force, greater clarity, greater intensity. Because you are not of this place, you never were. And now something in you recognizes that the moment has arrived. You can no longer deny or postpone it. The call echoes, the awakening is underway, and in this new cycle, either you align with your origin or you remain lost on paths never meant for you. Few have the courage to accept this, but if you bear the letter M or the lunar crescent etched in your hands by natural lines, know, it is not an anatomical detail. It is a revelation, a spiritual signature, a silent reminder that your origin is not common. You were coded with a call that precedes your arrival on Earth. These marks are secret maps left by the Creator on rare vessels, marking those sent with a mission. This is not about luck or appearance, but lineage and spiritual heritage. They are signs left by the heavens in a world that constantly tries to erase your memory. Ancestral cultures knew this, spiritual masters knew, but the current system wanted to convince you that everything boils down to flesh, bones, and coincidence. For a time, perhaps you believed. Perhaps you looked at your hands and saw only lines. But now your eyes are awakening. The letter M and the lunar crescent are portals, not physical but vibrational, that mark your separation from the common human pattern. These portals indicate that you carry a mission of healing, leadership, protection, or revelation. that you were sent to be a point of rupture in a cycle of repetition, that you are a bridge between realms. And perhaps you have never felt comfortable with this responsibility. Perhaps you have fled or tried to forget it. But the mark remains as a divine seal, a visible reminder of the invisible, because no matter how much they try to convince you that you are just another soul, heaven has already decided otherwise. And now, what was once just a trace on your skin becomes living proof that your existence is chosen, sealed, and guided by something much greater. From early on, you perceived that something about the world's workings was strange. Superficial conversations bored you, rules felt empty, and the paths that so many followed obediently appeared as invisible prisons. For a long time, this hurt you because you tried to fit in, to seem normal, to pretend you didn't feel what you felt. But no matter how hard you tried, something within you always drove you away from the crowd. That anguish is not a flaw or a defect. It is proof that you belong to another vibration, another plane, another purpose. Yes, you were sent to live among humans, but not to become like them. You were called to be the exception, not the rule, a beacon, not part of the mass. And that is precisely why everything in your life felt more intense, the attacks, the disappointments, the silence, everything deeper, harsher, heavier, because you were surrounded by codes that did not resonate with your origin. But now that you are remembering, that truth is being restored in you, recognize. Your discomfort was always a sign that you arrived with a superior frequency. You were born among men, but your soul was forged in eternity. The world tried to deceive you, to convince you that you were strange, weak, too sensitive. But your sensitivity was a radar, your strangeness a gift, and your apparent fragility the shelter of an unbreakable spirit. They mocked what they could not understand, but what is celestial is rarely recognized by earthly eyes. So do not carry shame for not belonging, carry honor. You were not made to fit in, but to reveal. Have you noticed how, from the beginning, everything conspired to make you doubt? Every great dream was attacked, every attempt at authenticity ridiculed, every spontaneous spark silenced by voices telling you to be more realistic. This is not coincidence, it is strategy. The system of this world, invisible to common eyes, but active in every social, emotional, and spiritual structure, always knew who you were before you remembered. And that is why it attacked you so intensely. It sensed your light before you knew how to ignite it. It perceived your potential while you still crawled in doubt. It surrounded you with insecurity, limiting expectations and routines that dull your essence. The truth is that the system fears the awakened, fears those who do not surrender to illusion, fears those who dare to look beyond the surface. And if you bear the mark of the letter M, or the lunar crescent on your hands, that fear intensifies, for those are spiritual seals of one sent to break chains, not to carry them, to open ways, not to tread worn paths. Therefore, with every step toward your truth, the system will try to pull you back. It will sow doubts disguised as common sense, use loved ones to plant insecurities, and attempt to convince you that your calling is an illusion. But it is not. The resistance you feel is proof that you are approaching your true identity. Do not fear the chaos around you. It is merely a symptom of a world trying to stop your remembrance. But the call within you is older than any system. It did not originate here, and nothing here can stop it. You are awakening, and the world feels it, hence its reaction. But one who carries the truth need not fear any lie. Since ancient times, there have been two types of people in this world, those who belong to it and those who merely pass through it. The difference lies not in clothing or language, but in the soul's vibration, in the spirit's origin. If you have the mark of the lunar crescent or the letter M on your hands, that separation becomes even more evident, for they are like fingerprints of your mission, seals left by spirit so that, when the right moment came, you would know. You are one of the few chosen, not to adapt, but to awaken. This division is not something you chose, it was already written. And when you try to fit into a world that was not made for you, everything begins to collapse, because it rejects what it cannot control and resists what it cannot understand. You were never meant to be understood, but to transform. Those who belong to the world will call you strange, laugh at your intuition, say you are exaggerating, that spirituality is nonsense, that you overthink. But this happens because, without fully understanding, they perceive in you something that confronts them. You are a living reminder that there is more. And those who live asleep hate being awakened. When a chosen one enters a place, they carry a mirror, not a physical one, but a reflection of what others refuse to see in themselves. Your light exposes shadows. Your presence reveals superficiality. Your sensitivity dismantles coldness. That is why many will keep their distance, not because of anything you have done, but because they are not ready for what you awaken in them. Your energy is a spiritual alarm, and not everyone wants to wake up. They will judge you without reason, attempt to discredit you, spread lies, and exclude you from circles. But all of this is the reaction of a system that feels it is losing control. For with your mere presence, you dismantle invisible structures. You need not raise your voice or prove anything, simply be, and that is enough. The existence of a chosen one is a threat to a world that lives on appearances. When you begin to recognize this, you stop blaming yourself. Stop wondering why things do not flow like in others' lives, and accept that your path will be different, for your mission is greater. And as painful as that resistance may be, it also confirms you. No chosen one goes unnoticed, and if the world attacks, it is because heaven has already approved you. From an early age, the system tried to convince you that to be loved, accepted, and recognized, you must conform, speak a certain way, dress another way, follow a pre-approved script by a society that never saw your essence. And many chosen ones silenced their truths, hid their light, stifled their gifts, all just to be accepted in places that would never understand them. But that is the most dangerous trap, because in trying to fit in, the chosen one relinquishes the space they were sent to fill. They shrink to fit into places where the greatness of their soul would never be understood, swapping authenticity for approval and, in so doing, losing strength, identity, and direction. You were spiritually programmed to break patterns, not to submit to them. Your spirit carries activation codes that don't work in conformist environments. Your energy was made to transform, not to accommodate. And that is why, whenever you tried to fit in, something within you screamed in discomfort, a void growing because your being knew you were denying your own nature. You could pretend everything was fine, smile, wear masks, follow rules, but deep down, where no one sees, your soul begged for freedom. And that is where many chosen ones fall ill, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, because living out of alignment with one's truth carries a high price. And you did not come to pay that price, but to live with purpose. When you realize you don't need to be understood by everyone, you don't need to belong to groups that invalidate your essence, and you should not spiritually mutilate yourself just to please others. Your path will begin to open with lightness. The true allies of your mission will not ask you to hide. They will recognize your light and walk beside you even without understanding everything. They will respect your presence even when your truth makes them uncomfortable. Stop seeking approval where you only find rejection. Stop trying to fit into places where your soul must shrink. You are not made to fit in, but to expand, and that expansion only happens when you choose truth over adaptation. Now that the truth has been revealed, that you are not 100% human, that you carry within you a divine essence that does not conform to earthly structures, comes the most important question. If I was not made to fit into this world, what was I made for? What is my true purpose? The answer is deep yet simple. You were made to remember and awaken. Chosen one, you did not come into this world merely to survive, pay bills, repeat routines, and live a mediocre existence. You were sent with a specific mission: to bring light where darkness reigns, to break patterns where stagnation prevails, and to activate in others that which first awakened in yourself. Your purpose is not fame, status, or human recognition, but an invisible and eternal impact. It is to vibrate so high in truth that your mere presence provokes healing, awakening, and transformation in every environment you enter. Your purpose is to be a bridge between dimensions, a living memory of the divine in a world that has forgotten its origin. You were called to be a guardian of the light, and that requires courage. Refusing to live anesthetized, never negotiating your own consciousness, and having the boldness to say yes to the mission, even when the whole world says no. That is why, throughout your journey, you have faced so many trials. Every chosen one must be prepared before being sent. Every soul sent must cross the desert before reaching the promised land. The traumas, the rejections, and the pains were not punishments, but spiritual trainings. And now, with awakened eyes and an activated spirit, you have the responsibility to live what was prepared for you. Perhaps your mission involves healing, teaching, guiding, creating, writing, speaking, or serving. Or perhaps it is simply to remain consciously aligned in a world that runs on autopilot. But one thing is certain: if you feel you do not belong to this world, it is because you came to transform it. Your calling does not begin when everything is perfect, but at the moment you say, "I accept." For when a chosen one accepts who they truly are, heaven moves, the universe aligns, and the mission begins to manifest in the physical plane with supernatural force. Now there is no doubt, you know who you are, why you never fit in, and you know deep down that feeling of being displaced was never a mistake but always a call. You are no longer asleep. A truth has ignited within you and can no longer be ignored. You carry the breath of God, the signature of eternity, the code of a mission that began even before your birth. The letter M and the lunar crescent on your hands are not mere details. They are tangible confirmations of a spiritual origin that transcends human understanding. And now that this has been activated in you, the only question that remains is simple. Will you continue to live as if nothing happened? Or will you begin to live as one who carries a sacred purpose? The time of waiting is over. The world may not understand, but the chosen one did not come to be understood. You came to fulfill, to shake the system, to confront lies with light, to restore, to reveal, and to awaken. The earth needs your light, and you can no longer hide. If this message has touched your soul, if something in you has burned with each word, leave a comment. I accept my calling. That will be your spiritual seal, your public declaration to the universe that you will no longer remain silent. And if you feel you belong to this mission, subscribe now to the channel. There you will find nourishment for the spirit, profound revelations, and a silent army of other chosen ones who, like you, are awakening to who they truly are. Because now you are being revealed, and the world needs and has always needed your light.